Uh, Naughty, nice. They all get welcome to Ivy Suffer.
Oh,
Well, they're all supposed to get Carnage for Christmas, but
I
Letterbox
see.
hasn't cut off, so.
I see. I was like, wait, what? Okay, fair.
Uh, this is episode 378, I think, of Ivy
Wow.
Suffer. Um, Nancy Crew.
I Nancy Crew Publishing
Man,
Company.
too bad Kit's not here. He could be Kit.
Oh my gosh, he could. Oh, I guess technically I could be Cat, Kit and Cat,
Yeah, there
and
you go.
Nancy Crew. Perfect.
Uh, we're gonna talk about 2024's Carnage for Christmas. Uh, a movie I like. Not it's I think at least from what I have watched so far of Alice Mayo McKay's movies, it's like right in the middle, I would say.
What other movies?
So
I'd,
I forget one of the Vinegar Syndrome like partner labels has released I think two, maybe three Blu-rays with some of her like it'll be like two movies and some shorts or something on them.
hmm
So like obviously T Blockers, which we covered, which is a banger.
Yeah.
Um, Satanic Panic, which I also
Okay.
was really into, which is also currently on Shutter. I haven't been able to see So Vam yet, which I also realize is on Shutter, so I can watch that soon. Um, there was a movie called Bad Girl Boogie, which was like I gave it like 2.5 stars. It was a little like middle of the road from what I remember. And then there's
hmm
like a bunch of shorts she's done, like Howl of the Werewolf, which is like 16 minutes. The Serpent's Nest is like 28 minutes. It looks like she has a short in some sort of anthology movie, stuff like that. But other like T Blockers and Satanic Panic, I like really like, and this one I'm like, it's pretty good. What do you think?
So obviously I've only seen T Blockers, which I loved. I actually really liked this. I think for me, it's not as successful as T Blockers was, but I still feel like there's a lot of stuff to like about this movie, even though it's like, I don't know. I feel like it is hard, even though I kind of like seek out Christmas or winter related horror. I do feel like it's hard to make a successful movie now where your main villain is a Santa Claus because like it's 2025. You know what I mean? Like it's been done so many times.
Sure.
And so I feel like it's hard to make it unique, but I feel like this movie is right up my alley because the whole point of it kind of is that the main character is a forensic science student, which almost is what I did. Instead, I did psychology because that was not gonna lie the easier way. And then also hosts a like a true crime podcast. So like I feel like it's coded for me.
That
And
was the
so
aspect that when I texted you and I was like, I'll be really interested on like your thoughts on like a thing in the movie. It was the true crime podcast aspect.
I eat that shit up. Gobble
Like,
gobble.
oh
Well, it's
man, that
Christmas now, not Thanksgiving, but
podcast sounded terrible to me. Somebody that does not.
well, here's the thing is that they were very obviously um going off of the trope of a murder podcast, which is like two women having a conversation about the whatever the case is instead of somebody just like giving you the info. And what's that one podcast everyone loves?
My favorite murder.
My favorite murder, who I cannot stand the podcast or the people or I can't stand that podcast, but that's like very obviously the kind of podcast that it was like emulating. Even though I feel like obviously the main character's name is Lola. She obviously seemed to be more invested in like I don't know, not being exploitive
Yeah,
really. I would
like sort of
assume
like
like
ethically and like it
yeah,
on it like to me it seemed more like a mix of like I'd say yeah, some like My Favorite Murder, but also like serial sort of thing where they were like
yeah,
trying to help solve whatever crimes.
exactly.
Like
Yeah.
I think I like the use of the podcast part as like a storytelling device
Yeah.
where like they're, using it to tell the story of this Christmas stuff happening. Or well, this I forget it was like what they call Tooth Fairy?
The toy maker.
Toy Maker. I was like I don't know why Tooth Fairy was the thing come to mind because I was like that'd be real stupid, but also I don't know. The Toy Maker thing.
Tooth
But
No,
then
Tooth
like
Fairy is
no,
real.
I know that.
Isn't
I was like,
oh,
why
okay.
would they use that in this Christmas movie?
Yeah, no, 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 no. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, but like I think the aspect that I don't like, which is like whatever, it's a very tiny gripe in like the storyline, is like the aspect of her like using the podcast to like go out and like solve these crimes or whatever. That's like the shit that's
hmm
happening. But like that's like more of a just like a I would roll my eyes at it sort of thing as opposed to like it like really affecting the movie for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um it's interesting cuz like I thought this was pre T blockers and this is the most recent movie she's made and released. There's still like two that are like one that's coming out soon and then one that I think is in the works. But I didn't realize this was like the most recent. I thought this was pre T blockers for some reason.
I did too, and for me, it's because I will say that again, like I feel like one of the things that we judge the most is going to be like the gore and the kills, obviously. I felt like there was some pretty cool stuff in this that I really liked, but overall felt like it was kind of like a step back from some of the stuff that we saw in T blockers. And I don't know if it's just like a budget, could be a budget thing or whatever,
Yeah,
but I
I believe
felt
so.
like yeah, I felt like the overall there was surprisingly a lot of people that got killed, but like I felt like the way in which we saw them where it was like flashy camera zoom like it just didn't work as well for me as the kills in T Blocker or I guess there wasn't as many kills, there was just like fighting or whatever. I mean T Blockers was a completely different kind of movie.
Right.
But that's really my only like gripe with it is that some of the kill scenes did not work as well for me, but other than that everything else like again, there's some really cool, there's some really cool mood lighting in this, of course, featured around like the Christmas lights and whatever. And I thought I do have notes. I mean, obviously there's not this is a lot of like just Lola walking around their hometown trying to figure out what's happening. So there's not like a ton to go over, but I do have a couple pages we'll go over. But I will say I did really like the Santa mask that the toy maker wore. Like it was crack. It was like literally like a Santa. It kind of looked like a mix between a Santa mask and the Beaver Vendetta guy, where like the eyes were slanted, but it was like all crackly. And so, I mean, I liked that. I liked that he used different kinds of like weapons that you would use for like making toys. Like he like I don't know what this contraption even is, but it's like an old-timey thing that they would use to drill into wood because he was like, he made toys out of wood or whatever, and he like hand drilled into somebody's neck, and that was pretty cool. So like I appreciated that again there was like different kinds of tools being used and that like even though technically I feel like this is actually not indicative of a serial killer because this is not usually what happens. Every single kill in it is like done differently, which I sort of doesn't track
Well, like
because this was,
I guess I can't remember specifically, but like, wasn't it like we'll get into it when we discuss the plot. Because
okay.
I didn't take it specifically as like a serial killer per se, as much as like, so I guess
Uh,
somebody like just getting revenge on a bunch of people, or what they
Yeah,
assume is revenge.
I guess like a lot of it was kind of like killing out of
Anger,
um
racism's not the right word, but like bigotry.
yeah, no, I'm trying to think of crimes of
Oh,
opportunity.
okay.
Um because well yeah, let's just get into it. Yeah, overall I think I gave this a 3.5 or a
Yeah, I mean
4.
that's what I
Like
gave it.
I was like pleasantly surprised. I didn't feel like the Christmas aspect of it was like um over exaggerated, but I also didn't feel like it was gimmicky at all. I thought it had like the perfect amount of
No, like I would say
holidayness.
as much as like a killer Santa in this day and age movie goes, it's like it's not an actual Santa, which is
Right,
what it
right.
usually
Yes.
is now, and
Right.
like B, it's not a major plot point that it's a Santa per se.
Right.
Like it's and like I think it's smart. Like that it's a thing that like you're guaranteed to probably get at least some watches every year based on it being a Christmas horror movie.
Right.
And so like and
But you're right. This could work literally without the Christmas part
yeah,
at all and it being a
I
Santa. Yeah.
the one thing I wanted to say before we get into it is like, as far as sort of like we talked like budget and stuff like that, to where like
Hmm.
I think we could both agree that it feels like cheaper isn't the right word, but like it seems less.
Less produced,
Yeah,
maybe.
I guess. I don't know. I don't really know how to phrase it because it's like it's not a thing that I'm like as like a knock against the movie for me. But
No, no.
I will say, she released or made and released like uh three, maybe four full lengths within like 2 years.
Oh,
So
okay.
like, and like it's T Blockers came out 2023. Satanic Panic was 2023. This was 2024, and then The Serpent Skin is like premiere to come out this year. I just don't know what it's like wide release. So like,
Hmm.
and then Bad Girl Boogie was 2022. That's wait, So Vam was 2021. That's one, two, three, four, six full lengths in like 4 years. So like, and considering at least everything of these I've seen, I've been like, this is either pretty good to like great.
Hmm.
Like that's impressive, I think. Especially when like some of the shit we've done where we've talked about like, like what Mark Polonia is currently doing, where it's like, or like, that people that make these Amityville movies where they pump them out like every month and it's just fucking absolute dog shit every time. Like 6 movies in 4 years and they are all watchable to like really, really good is like extremely
Yeah.
impressive. And like she's like 22 or some shit.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Like
I would definitely say so.
I think when So Vam came out, like the big story about it was that like she was like 17 when it came out. So she's
Wow.
like 21, 22, something like that. So like that's pretty fucking impressive for the age, the amount of stuff coming out like in a short amount of time, all that stuff.
Hmm. Yeah. Agree. Okay. let's get into Carnage for Christmas. I like the alliteration. The poster actually is also really cool because it looks like it kind of reminds me of Black Christmas, the little it's like a wreath with like eyeballs and shit in it, but it looks vintage. And I liked this is like a small thing, but at the very end of the movie when the credits are rolling, there's like this weird like Technicolor Christmas tableau going on that also like felt very vintage to me
Mm.
that I liked. Okay, so the movie starts with two podcasters who are named Lola and Riley, and they're telling this a true crime story that's being shown to us essentially. And I will admit, I was really impressed. Immediately, we see some dirtballs entrails, so I liked that. Um, and at the end of them having this like true crime story, whatever, Riley says, we're gonna read one of the emails, and there's an email that asks Lola how she got into murder cases, is what they call them. And basically, she starts recounting this urban legend of their hometown. I know that in the past I have said that I don't like when I'm watching a regular real life movie and then there's animated stuff that happens randomly. I did like the animated part in this. I thought I sent you a picture
Yeah, I think it works
of the
really well,
Santa.
and it looks
I
cool.
think the style is very cool. The entire thing is kind of also like red toned. And it works for me in this instance because Lola is telling a story about what happened to them when they were a child. And so I feel like um, it did work for me in this instance. And I liked the style of the animations.
Yeah, this was
So,
the part that I I think works with the true crime podcast aspect is like getting this story across.
right. Because there's like and not like usually in horror movies and specifically in Christmas related or holiday related horror movies, there's always has to be some kind of like trauma that the main character has. In this case, Lola has a lot because it's not just from this story, but um usually it's just like some there's like no real device to give the backstory other than someone just randomly being like one Christmas my dad went down the chimney and he died, you know what I mean, like
Yeah, so Gremlins.
you know what I'm referring to. um there's actually like a reason for Lola to be telling the story. It's because it directly relates to why their life path is the way that it is. Like, again, being a forensic science student and having a true crime podcast where I think, well, okay, so let me tell the story. So I think that this works and it's a smart way to do this and it actually like makes sense. So there was this old abandoned house in their hometown, which was like a small hometown. And back in the 1930s, there was a man that lived there who used to make toys out of wood. And during Christmas, he would dress up as Santa and go through the town and give kids the toys. Um, this is the part of the legend that I think is insane, but okay. Basically, the Santa Claus toy man was extremely had like really, really bad jealousy. And one night he had a dream that his wife cheated on him. And so he decided to then kill his entire family, and then he died by suicide. Seems a little drastic, but okay. And the youngest daughter, Nell, was unaccounted for since the murders happened. Um, so that was just kind of like Lola telling verbally the story. And so she's basically talking about how this urban legend spawned this kind of like rite of passage, which again I also feel like, you know, she says that like the adults in the town kind of were like, this didn't happen, this is like fake. Um, so this all feels like very real to me that there would be like a creepy abandoned house that people would make up stories, make up stories about. Maybe something actually really happened, but then there's some kind of like scary rite of passage or like ritual that the kids have to do. So again, this feels very authentic to me. So now we get the animated part of the ritual. I just have the Santa up and I'm just staring at him.
Yeah, he's
I
gonna come
love
get
him.
you. Gonna hit you in the head with a
I'm
hammer.
Nope, I'm keeping the secret. I love him. Look at him. I hate to be on a man's side, but he kind of just looks like a little guy.
Yeah, he's a weird little
He's
guy.
just a well, he's kind of got really tall legs, but his essence is just a weird little
Look,
guy. So
us
it's
long-legged
hard.
people are also weird little guys.
That's, you know what? That's so true. Okay, so now we get the animated part of it, which is that Lola and a bunch of other of the town boys or whatever go into the house. It's an abandoned house. They go to the house and they make Lola go inside with a blindfold on and make her say the ritual words, which are toy maker, crawl up from hell, show me where you buried Nell. I promise I won't tell. That's what you have to say.
That's too long.
Although it is a lot. And
Like,
also they're like toy maker, toy maker.
stick with like saying Candyman 5 times or
Yeah,
whatever the fuck. It's way easier.
I agree. So then what happens is that the toy maker, who is at the iteration of the man wearing the Santa suit. So like he, again, like we said, was not Santa Claus. He just like did Santa Claus stuff during Christmas for the town. And for some reason, when he shows back up, his like entity is like a guy wearing a Santa suit, which is interesting. But he's also like skinny. He doesn't like you said, he doesn't literally look like Santa Claus. He just looks like some dude wearing a Santa Claus suit,
Yeah,
like
it's
fake
it's
beard.
very
Yeah.
much like a dude who was like, I'm gonna go kill these people, but I'm gonna use like the local legend to like
Right.
do it.
Exactly. So after you say that incantation, so to speak, he will show up and he will either kill you with a hammer or he will show you where the body of his dead daughter Nell is and swear you to silence. And if you tell anybody, then he will follow you and kill you. So
Better not
I
tell
feel like you have
anybody.
a 2 out of 3. You got a 2 out of 3 chance that you're going to be killed with a hammer, essentially.
So
Um,
bad.
so Lola does this and is scared shitless because the somebody basically she thinks that like this has actually worked because there is a grown man in the house and is scared, but it turns out that it's just what they refer to as the town drunk. And he was just in there to like sleep one off or whatever. And so Lola gets scared and hides in a closet, and the drunk like scares the kids and is like, "Get out of here, you nosy little perverts, or I'm gonna slap you silly." And while this is happening,
Direct
Lola,
dialogue.
yep.
I'm gonna slap you silly.
Uh,
Imagine Santa, you're just at the mall and he's just like, I'm gonna slap you silly.
I mean, I think Santa has a right to do that.
Honestly, if I was a mall
It
Santa, I would threaten so many kids.
seems like a stressful job.
I'd hit every single one of the hammers they got off my lap.
Would you also be mall ghost?
Just a pile of knocked out kids. Yeah, I would also be Mall
Um,
Ghost.
okay, good.
What
I
was
just wanted to make
what
sure.
was Mall Ghost from?
Christmas in Wonderland.
Oh, that's right. I was like, what the fuck was that from? I can't remember.
I have
all
not stopped thinking about it.
I have wiped all of that from my memory. Apparently,
You don't remember the elves? The
I
3D elves?
no, I think that's what wiped it from my memory. I think that was like it's
I
gonna
don't
be like a
trauma
yeah.
response.
I'm gonna fucking like go to therapy one day and it's all gonna come back. Start fucking
Um,
weeping.
yeah, we did another Chris Kattan on the Patreon where we did Christmas in Wonderland, which had really just an insane cast and insane things happening in the biggest mall I've ever seen in my life. That turns out is only the 23rd biggest mall in the world, and I am
Yeah,
flabbergasted.
I have to assume that just they shot specifically the really big, crazy parts of the mall for like the scope, and then the rest of it's probably just like regular boring mall shit.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't even know how that happened.
Mall ghost.
Yeah. Okay. Okay,
We
so yeah,
should.
so the town.
All right. I hope you suffer.
Yeah.
Trademark. I hope you suffer. We should make a tie-in to Christmas in Wonderland or whatever the fuck it was called, where we just make a mall ghost movie. We
I
just the
would love
story
Mall
of mall ghost,
Ghost.
and we'll see if we can get Chris Kattan and Preston Lacey to just show up and like just
I think they
do
would.
their characters running around looking for these kids.
Mall Ghost, and I think that Mall Ghost had a dog, and I think its name was like Bob or Dave or something.
The
So
fucking
find that dog.
yeah,
We need it.
I'm sure that dog is still alive
Um,
from 2007 or whenever the fuck it came out.
he's definitely alive.
Yeah.
Don't even. Okay. Yes. So Lola hides in a closet. Town drunk scares the boys away. And while Lola's in the closet, she happens to find a secret compartment in the back of the closet where she discovers the body, the skeletal, or I'm sorry, as
Essentially, just the skull, the pile of bones.
yeah. Well, in the animation, it's just like a bone, but I'm gonna say it the way that shit. What's that podcast that Tiffany really likes? And it's like an Australian guy, and he always says skeletal remains
I hope you
instead of
suffer. I assume that's the only podcast
yeah.
Tiffany listens to.
You know what? And honestly, she's real for that. Shit, Cold Kate, no. Shit, I forget. Anyways, people love shit. It's a good podcast. But the guy I don't, you know, and I'm gonna be so for real. I have a hard time telling the difference between Australian and like New Zealand. He has one of those, but he just pronounces things sometimes that like take me out of the story, and skeletal is one of them.
The fuck is
It's
skeletal?
no, I can't abide by it.
What
Anyways,
is it?
skeletal,
Like
skeletal remains.
aluminium or whatever the fuck for aluminum sort of thing.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
skeletal, he's so for real.
like, look, that's probably technically how it should be pronounced.
I don't think so. There's no I in it. Skeletal.
Yeah, there is.
Skeletal.
If you spell it
No,
like
there's
I do.
not. Okay, well that's fair. Okay. So she discovered the missing remains of the dead little girl, and I actually have no idea how much time has passed between like when the murders happened, the 30s, I guess, but I'm not really sure. Whatever. But basically, Lola's like making a
I gotta
point to
assume
be.
it's got to be at least like a decade. Because like
Probably multiple,
in
but
the animation, it's like a little kid, and so
yeah.
like I have to assume like yeah, like probably at least 15 years. You gotta figure. I'm gonna guess like 10 to like 25, whatever age Lola seems to be now.
Yeah. And she's just kind of like making the point of like I did what the cops couldn't do. I like recovered this little girl's body, and she's like plagued with the thought of like if only she had been around, she could have found and saved Nell. I think that the implication here is that Nell hid and then got like stuck in the trapdoor and like couldn't get out and died back there, I'm assuming.
Oh,
Because
interesting.
they
I just assumed it was like killed and then put back hid back there.
Well, she said there was like scratch marks
Oh
also.
yeah, I guess
So
that's
that's
true.
why I was thinking. But anyways, because she said like if I had been around, I could have saved her. Maybe I could save other girls like her. So that's why she basically became a forensic science major and has started the podcast with the hopes of like solving cases or like helping people or whatever. Um okay. So then after the podcast recording, and also I did find it was like interesting. Like I know that we obviously record the podcast via the internet, but I did think it was interesting that Lola is like so seems to be in a studio with like a professional mic and headphones and stuff, and then her friend is just like laying on her bed on a laptop with like nothing. I was like, okay.
Professional and then pretty much what I do.
So then after the podcast, Lola goes to meet up with her boyfriend and best friend, question mark, at a pizza place, and they just kind of like chatter. Lola is stressed about having to return back to the hometown that we just heard about for Christmas. Like, obviously, it's a small town, and as with T blockers, there's a lot of situations dealing with like being trans or being a part of just like the LGBTQ plus community in small towns and like ignorant people and there's like kind of the same level I would say of like education because when we watch later in the movie they brought up the chasers again, which like when we were watching T blockers I had never heard of that and I didn't know what it was. And so I think like again in this movie I think the script does a really good job of like adding the information in a way that doesn't seem like um how do I say that?
Like
It
I
doesn't seem like out of place. It's like it's just like not like I don't know. It's like informative, but in a way that it makes sense to what they're talking about. It's not as if they stopped and are like, I'm going to teach you about this
yeah, I
thing
was
or
gonna
whatever.
say
You
I
know what I
think
mean?
she does a good job in her dialogue in like using terms and like the explanations for what those terms mean in a way that is like diegetic in the movie as opposed to like
Yeah.
like where like sometimes that'll happen and you're just like this feels like you are like trying to like point the audience towards something and in this it just feels like a conversation somebody would be having and like it
Exactly.
works well with to like explain it like to like generally like cis people who have not heard those terms before.
Right. And I feel like it's also not as if just kind of being like, well, if you watched the T blockers, then you already know this stuff and I'm not going to explain it. It's like entry level for anybody to watch this and just be like, oh, okay, hadn't heard of that.
Yeah,
Interesting.
sort of like
And yeah,
the idea like every comic is somebody's first comic or like whatever sort of thing.
right. Yeah. No, exactly. And I appreciate that. And I think it again though, it is organic in this way, whereas like, sometimes you do watch things and you feel like you're being like lectured or something like that, and this is just like very organic. Um so yeah, just having problems because I think I don't really remember how long she hadn't been back home,
Yeah, that's what I was
but
gonna
I
ask if like you remember or like why she was going home. I don't know if I remember it
she
said.
literally, well, okay, this is one part of it that I am a little confused about still. She's going back home for Christmas specifically to see her family, but the only person that we ever meet is the sister.
Yeah.
The cop, when she's talking to the cop mentions that a father also exists, but we don't see him and there's no explanation for why. I mean, like I assume Lola is just estranged from the father, I guess, but then when the cop says something like there's some kind of like reference that makes me feel like they're like, "Oh, and you know what happened to my mother, why my mother's not here?" and but there's no actual explanation. So I'm not really sure. Like I assume we're just supposed to infer that maybe either estrangement or somebody's past. I'm not really
Yeah, that
sure.
makes
But
sense.
the literal point was just to go back home and visit the sister. But I think it had been long enough that like maybe she hadn't been presenting in the town at that point and so she's nervous about going back for that reason, right? Um I mean, also everybody in the town pretty much fucking sucks except for like her sister and the
So
sister's
everybody
friends.
she interacts
So
with except for like her sister and like kind of the one cop.
some of the friends. Oh yeah, the one cop. Yes, everybody else is like the worst fucking person, which again, very realistic. I think that maybe that's what I like T blockers. Obviously, there's some elements to it that are not realistic, but I think the situations that the people find themselves in do seem realistic, and this one does too, even though there's like a murder Santa,
Mm-hmm.
which is something that I think makes these movies seem like really authentic to me. So I like. Okay. There's some kind of little like snippet. Oh yeah, okay. Also, Lola's friend is like a journalist and is like trying to get her to write a book about the toy maker stuff. And she's basically just like, no, I'm not ready yet or whatever. Then there's like a party sequence to that of them like, getting crunk, and it's to a like EDM version of March of the Sugar Plum Fairies, which I found very funny. And again, I also remember T Blockers having something similar. So I was like, you know what? Go off. All right. Um, the next day, she drives home with a hangover, which seems terrible. And I jokingly wrote, "She's on the wrong side of the road."
Every
She's
time I
not.
see them,
She's
like,
more.
there's like there's a current couple on like one of the 90 Day Fiance shows that's taking place in maybe New Zealand. It's in New Zealand or Australia, I forget. And every time I see them driving, I'm like, why does this look so fucking weird? And then I have to remember that it's like opposite side of the road and opposite side of the
Yeah,
car and
yeah,
all that shit.
yeah. So Lola drives home, stops at a gas station to get some ciggies, and has like a weird memory of something that we get more context for later, but right now it's just kind of like a weird flash of like obviously something bad that happened. Uh, Arrives home. Um, I guess this character Julie is supposed to be the roommate of the sister, but she is mean to Lola. Um, which is interesting. The sister's name is Danny, by the way, and it also, I'm getting the impression that Danny has not seen Lola in a long time and is basically just expressing, just like joy that Lola is home and, that kind of thing. The friend roommate is mean to Lola and then leaves. Later, that friend is making out with um somebody that was from T Blockers in the car, and basically the she's like the sister of somebody, of one of the friends or whatever, and she's basically just like, hey, like, why don't you be nice to Lola, like there's just no reason for you to be mean or whatever, and she's kind of like, whatever, I don't care. And then the Santa comes from the side of the car and kills them both. Well, he basically like hits one of the girls in the head with a hammer, and then the other girl like runs away, and then it kind of like cuts out, so like
Well, they show her
we're,
also getting hit with the hammer as she's like
yeah.
running and like right before it cuts.
Yeah. So the next morning, Danny is worried because the roommate didn't come home, and that is weird for her. So Lola is just like, "Do you think she didn't come home because I'm here?" And Danny was like, "No, I don't think that's it. Like, this is kind of weird though." There is a knock at the door, and then when they answer it, there is severed doll pieces and a letter from the toy maker
No, thank you.
that's like, "Ho ho, bitches." Yeah, I don't care for it, to be honest with you. It's like, yeah, like a doll that has been, that's just like in pieces, and it's like, I'm back, bitch. You know how that goes.
Yeah, we've
So
all
they
had
go to
that
the
happen to
cop.
us.
Right, I know, terrible. Um, I said they go to the cops and he's a pig, pun intended, and basically just like brushes them off. Doesn't want to look for Julie because she's, has a reputation or whatever, and is like, oh, she's probably fine. And also thinks that the toy maker part of it is just a prank. He says that the town is like notorious for people pranking, pretending to be the toy maker, which woof. um
Maybe just get rid of your town. Seems like a bad town.
I agree. I actually agree. So they basically do not get anywhere with this cop and end up leaving. They talk about a bunch of town drama, and the reason that this is kind of important is because the people do come up later, and every person that they're talking about, we see a flashback of Lola retelling the story of going into the abandoned toy maker's house, and the illustration of like the little boys are the people who Lola was with at the time. So it's like, oh, this guy grew up and now he's a piece of shit. This guy grew up and he's also a piece of shit. Like, no, you know what I mean? Like, no surprise there. But they're just talking about like the gossip of what's happened in the town as it relates to these people that Lola knows. So they go to probably the only gay bar there and chat with all the
Yeah, because
friends.
she's like, wait, there's a
Um,
gay bar here now? Like, she's like surprised by
yeah,
it.
yeah, sounds great. Um, they go and meet Danny's friends. Find out that one of Lola's teachers from high school now owns the bar and is a drag queen who does something later that made me laugh out loud that I loved so much. I was like so into it. So they're basically just like, hey, this town is like really shitty. Like it's actually still not that safe out there. So like you have a home here. If you need anything, come here. And Lola's like, okay, heartened by it. But they're basically talking about how no one's heard from Julie or the other girl since the night before. And so they're like, okay, that is actually kind of weird. So they're trying to like get in contact with them and they can't. And they're like, okay, well, let's just like chill for a minute, but like this is all sus, right? Um oh yeah, and then one of the friends does bring up that Lola was the one that found the skeleton girl, and I was like, that's you probably don't need to do that though.
Stop telling everybody.
Um yeah. And then they recount all the boys with Lola that oh, this is what I was just explaining, where they're talking about like the drama of like all these dudes being pieces
Oh,
of
yeah.
shit. Yeah, so the friends are concerned that the two girls have that they haven't heard. They go to the gas station where the other girl works and she hasn't shown up to work, and so now they're like really sus, right? Lola then sees one of the guys at the gas station and has again this memory. And as the movie progresses, we see more of this, and it's essentially just like an interaction with this guy where like he is proved to be violent and like I think at the time had gotten in a physical fight with Lola maybe. And so basically there's just like some PTSD there. Um so they go back home and literally this is like hours after they tried to report the roommate missing. There's a police report on TV about how the girl that she was with in the car, the sister, has been found dead. And they show on TV like somebody walking up to the car and like seeing her dead body and just like throwing up. And then they like show her body through the window. And I was like, would they be showing this on TV? That seems
Yeah.
insane.
I mean, Australia's a weird place.
It's true. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't actually know. And they're saying it was last seen with the roommate Julie, and she is now missing. Lola and Danny are like, you know what? Fuck the police, of course, and decide that they're going to go to the crime scene and investigate. Like obviously they're really upset about this girl in the friend group having been dead, and they're like, well, we need to figure out what happened. So they go to the crime scene, they're investigating. Lola is basically just like, this is a piece of shit investigation. This is sloppy AF. And also sees that there's hammer marks in a nearby tree. And so she's like, okay, weird. Let's go. They basically look around the crime scene and like immediately find the dead body of the roommate just laying out with like her entrails all over the place and an eyeball laying there. And I was like, I mean, I'm not really surprised that the cops wouldn't have just like peeked behind the tree and saw this like whole dead body. And there's also a Christmas card that says "I came back" or something like that from the toy maker. And it's like pretty obvious at this point that Lola is being targeted in some way
Yeah.
by this toy maker person. At the funeral for the sister, there's um basically a fight because they're thinking that the girl's ex-boyfriend, which was one of those shithead dudes, um he was violent. They all are violent. And so they're basically just like, I think that he had something to do with this. And the police are like, okay, calm down. calm down here, girls. And they're like, no, would you fucking do your job and do something? Like, they're dead. Why are you here at the funeral? Whatever. It's like a whole scene. And this is when Lola sees that the quote unquote town drunk who was in the house all those years ago with her, his tombstone is there in the cemetery. And she's like, oh, that's so sad. Like the drink finally got to him. And Danny's like, oh no, that guy was murdered. And they're like, oh, what the hell? So that's weird. The police call Lola in for like questioning because essentially they're like, hey, weird that there were no murders here until you showed up, and now there's been murders. So, like, what do you have to say about
I
that?
find that hard
I
to
know that
believe.
you're right. And also, like, here's the other thing. Again, Lola is a forensic science student and a true crime podcast host. And I'm not saying that somebody with those specifications couldn't kill somebody, but I'm saying it's probably like a pretty low like chance that they would actually be a murderer because like what? And then also, I don't know, whatever. So she's
I don't
basically just
know. I've
like,
seen
hey,
Dexter.
okay,
Actually, I haven't,
Dexter
but
ruined Dexter, I guess, ruined it for everybody. Um, Yeah, so he's basically like seems really sus because you're into murder and things like that. And the chief literally tries to say that there's been no crime in the small town, and she like lights his ass up with history. She's basically just like 1970, this murder, this murder, this murder is like laying out the town history for him, and he's just like they're like sitting there with his little ponytail. And like they're basically like having a back and forth, right? And then the cop is essentially like, okay, chill, I get it. Um, well, okay, if you're not the one that's doing this, is it possible that um maybe the murder somehow followed you here because the murder started happening and this specific toy maker related murder started happening when you showed up. And Lola's basically just like, I mean, I I don't know. And so he's like, just don't leave town, like you whatever. And she's like, okay, why don't you go do your fucking job, and like gets up in his face and then leaves. And I was like, yes, queen. So one of Danny's friends, oh, it cuts to like one of Danny's friends leaving the gas station, and she basically like stops because she looks over, the toy maker is there. And this is the first time we get like an actual really good look at him because it's like a up close of the mask, which again I liked. And he basically is like staring at her and she's staring at him. They're just like looking at each other. And then he like turns around and pretends to leave, and she's like, okay, weird. And then all of a sudden he turns around and is just like running full force at her, which really creeped me out. I didn't like it.
yeah, I don't like anything with these dudes at the gas station.
No, the way that the scene was shot too, I thought was like pretty creepy because it's like a kind of like a far cam, like so you could see her kind of far away than him, and the way he just turns around and starts running at her, because like I very much felt that feeling that she felt when like you like encounter something and your instincts are like, well, this isn't great, and then the person just like walks away or like doesn't walk towards you, and you're like, you feel that relief of like, oh, okay, everything's fine. But then he just like started running at her, and I was like, I would literally pee and poop and throw up. Like I could not. I mean, unfortunately she dies. She's the one that gets like the screw thing in her neck, the wood drill.
Yeah,
um
seems like a bad way to go.
yeah, seems really painful because I feel like it would take a little bit for you to actually die. Let's see. Okay. There is been a cop who has been assigned to follow Lola to see like where she's going to make sure she's not connected or whatever. You know that like he can't actually be chill because he is a cop, but you know that he's sort of chill because he's got a nose ring. So, you know,
uh,
you can
I don't
you can trust.
know if that's a thing they're allowed to have, but Australia again,
I
weird
don't
place.
yeah, I don't know. So the cop comes up and is basically just like, hey, you know, like obviously it's not you because this other girl was killed and you've been in the house the whole time, you know, because they couldn't have left out the back or anything. But it's fine. It actually is not them, so it's totally cool. And basically, he's like, by the way, huge fan of the podcast, love it. Why don't we team up? And Lola is like, okay, cool. Here's the thing, though. I do not want you to ask me a single question. You need to tell me everything that you know about what's going
Some
on,
real
and you need to do
Batman shit.
anything that I say. Literally. And he's just like, okay. Like, all right. Rip it up. I think his name is Dave. That's what I wrote anyway, so we're gonna call him that. And oh wait, or is Dave the historical guy?
I have
I don't know.
I do not remember.
We'll just call him Nose Ring Cop, actually.
Dave
Let's
and
call
Dave
him
2.
that. Yep. Good good old Dave and Dave number two. Someone's name is Jimmy, I'm pretty sure. But I don't know. Okay, so yeah, so she's basically like, all right, go on, leave me alone, let me do my shit. And he's like, okay, say less. So then Lola goes to talk to one of her old friends. I think that his name is Dave, actually. And he is working. It took me forever to figure out what this was supposed to be. Because again, this is like one of those movies where like some of the scenes are just like in people's houses. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
this is obviously just someone's house, and it's supposed they're saying that it is like the historical society of the town or something, which is fine, but they didn't come out and say it, so I was like confused a little bit as to what was going on here. Um, but she basically is like, "Hey, wanted to know if you could like help me with something," and he basically like is kind of like awkward and basically apologizes for like how he treated her in the past. And, you know, she's like, it's fine. Like, I can tell you've changed. Like, don't worry about it. It's fine. She's like poking around, touching the artifacts and whatnot. And she's like, could you, they're kind of like flirting almost a little bit, but she's trying to get him to like look into the records of people who had lived in the toy maker's house to like get some info. And he says something which is kind of weird, which is that like he thinks that they should open up a museum in the toy maker's house to get tourists to come see the place where there was murders, I guess.
Great idea.
And like if that isn't the Zach Baggians' thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
But
You think
she's like,
Zach
okay,
Baggins has seen this movie?
probably.
I bet he hasn't.
Uh
Vin
he's like
Diesel's
that
not
guy
in
right
this. Why would
there.
he watch it?
That's true. Nobody wears affliction, so it's not on his watch
He just
list.
has a letterbox list of every movie with somebody wearing an affliction shirt in it.
He probably does. And or a fedora. If it's got both of them, it goes to the
Oh yeah,
top of
that's
the
in his
watch
top
list.
four.
Yeah. Um, let's see. Uh, yeah, she's like, can you, whatever. So after that, she calls Nose Ring Cop and basically is like, hey, could you look up these police reports? Because I was like looking at the newspaper and there was something that happened related to the toy maker's house in 2018, but the articles are redacted. So like, I need to know, can you look up the police report? And he's like, uh, actually, looking at police reports is not as easy as you think. And she's like, okay, I know, but like, I don't know how else to get this information. He was like, well, luckily, I know in detail what happened. Okay, okay. So it's if this toy maker thing happened in the 30s and it is 2018 at least, there's the timeline a little bit. So it had been decades, I
Yeah,
would
I'd
think,
say it has
since
to be.
body. Yeah. Um, Basically what happened in 2018 at the house is that there were some backpackers coming through and they were like tourists and they went to the house and one of them happened to be trans and she was attacked by somebody wearing a Santa Claus outfit, but she got away. And so that was like the incident, attempted homicide or whatever. And so Lola was like, okay, that's weird and interesting and cool. Not cool, but um he at this point the nose ring cop, is like at the toy maker's house, just like looking around and stuff. And he's like, are you by here? Because you really got to see this shit. So Lola shows up, and basically the girl who got attacked with like the wood saw drill the night before is now in the house. But she's what they call blood eagle murder.
Seems not great.
No. And like we've seen things like this in other things like not specifically Silence of the Lambs, but in that series there is like maybe it is in Silence of the Lambs also, all multiple times where it's basically like her body is like sitting slumped over on the bed, and then her back skin has been removed and is like flapped up to kind of look like wings. And it's like a whole thing. I thought it looked really good though.
Yeah,
I was like, all right,
it
cool.
kind of reminds me like it's the opposite though, where it's like the front of the rib cage ripped open. There's like a thing in one
Right,
of the
right,
Saw
right,
movies where they do that.
right. Yeah. And somebody says that she looks like an angel. Aw. Get it? Because it's Christmas time.
Yeah, it's just a snow
Looks
angel of blood.
looks pretty gross though. Yeah. Blood eagle angel, snow angel.
Hmm?
So they investigate a little bit. They find a boot print. They kind of talk about, Lola's like asking nose ring cop questions to try and like figure out who could have done this based on the evidence that she sees. And she's like, we don't want anybody to know that we're involved. Like, we have to leave now because like the whatever. So they leave. Lola gets a call from her boyfriend, and he is mad because she didn't call and be like, "Hey, by the way, all these people are getting murdered or whatever." And he's like, "I'm coming out there." And she's like, "No, don't." And he's like, "I'm coming." So she's like, "Okay." I thought this scene was really interesting because like we don't actually really know where Lola is at this moment, but she's kind of like standing talking on the phone, and then it's showing her, and in the background you see the Santa like come out from behind a dumpster and like look at her and then like turn and walk away. And I was like, oh my God, he's
Seems
right there.
upsetting.
Yeah.
Nobody
So,
look at me from a trash like a dumpster, please.
literally, no. Don't even come near my dumpster, okay? I don't want to see you even looking at it. So then also she's like, okay, fine, come, like, sorry I didn't tell you. I just didn't want to worry you. Before because he's got some kind of like hacker friend that can like listen to, I don't know. He knows secret behind the scenes stuff. So she's like, "Can you ask your friend to check up on the sergeant who is the guy with the ponytail that we hate? Because something feels like not right about him." So he's like, "You got it." Lola gets home, like back to her sister's house, and there is a severed ear on the doorstep. A little bit worse than a broken up doll, I would say.
You can leave me a severed ear.
And all right, that's on Nathan's wish
Yep,
list.
that's all over Christmas. Just send me severed ears.
And a note from the toy maker. There's also a note, message from the sister saying, I came to the bar. We're all here trying to stay safe. Like, be careful. Come here, whatever." So Lola calls Nose Ring Cop, who is outside of the bar, and she's like, "Did you see anybody at the house?" And he's like, "I don't know. I saw your sister leave, so I followed her to the bar, and I've been like sitting here watching or whatever." And so she's like, "Okay, because there's like a fucking severed ear on the doorstep, if you care about that." And he's like, "Oh, weird." And so she's like, "Did any of the victims we found so far have an ear missing?" And he's like, "No." And so then, of course, Lola is upset because she's like, "Oh, this has got to be from somebody else's ear." The sister of the girl that they had the funeral for, so their names were Kit and Kat. They were twins, which I actually think is kind of cute. Is now missing too. So Lola's like, "Oh, fucking shit." So she's like, "Okay, well, this girl's missing. Like, I'm gonna come to the bar." But the cop is like, "Oh, I kind of weird. Something's going on. I'm gonna go check it out." So they hang up the. Oh, also we find out that he nose ring cop was like listening to the scanner and found out that when the police came and discovered the blood eagle snow angel girl, um, the protocol is to call the state police in, so that's what happened. But then when the sergeant showed up and the cop said, "Oh, I called the state police," he gets fucking pissed off. And basically they're like, "Okay, well that's suspicious. It's pretty obvious that the sergeant is trying to cover up or keep some of these murders quiet. So that's fucking weird." So the cop goes out to investigate something that he sees outside of the bar or the club or whatever, and is hit and killed by the Santa and has his scalp pulled open to reveal his brain, which is not great.
Uh, yeah, you could do that to me too.
Okay. Severed ears,
Having a brain
scalp
is pretty
pulled
bad, I
open.
gotta say.
Yeah, it can be rough. So he's dead, which is, Um, Lola has a brief confrontation with the slut, no, slime ball. I was trying to say like sludge bag, which is like also not a word. I don't know. These pieces of shit dudes, right? And they're about to like get into it or whatever, but Lola's boyfriend shows up, and so she's like, "Okay, oh, thank God, we need to get to the club." So on the way to the club, the boyfriend is talking about how basically Ponytail Sergeant is from a rich family and is brothers with the mayor. So this family has essentially been buying up a bunch of like old real estate and shit in the town and is basically just like owns the town, and so they're kind of just like doing whatever they want. And Lola has made the connection that the reason the sergeant is trying to like downplay or cover up the murders is because the toy maker is probably related to him somehow and is in his family. It's like, girl, you are smart. um Lola goes to the bar and sends her boyfriend, whose name now I wrote finally is Charlie, just an hour into the movie, it's fine. To the historical society, because she's got a hunch, right? So she goes into the bar where she finds Christmas Tree Nose Ring Cop, you know,
Christmas Tree
as you
Nose Ring
do.
Cop. It's my favorite band.
Yep, it's a pretty good band. At the historical society, Charlie hears a bunch of muffled noises and whatnot and breaks in and finds the sister who lost the ear still alive, locked in a closet. So he saves her. Um, this is when it is revealed to us that, of course, Dave, whose name I totally knew, who is the boy that ran the historical society, he is the killer Santa, of course. Um, there's like this whole scene where Lola is like hiding behind stuff in the club, and he is, they're doing this kind of like cat and mouse thing where he's like walking around very slow. There's the Babes in Toyland theme song playing in the background, very creepy sounding and slow, and like, the lighting is like a green and red on him or whatever. And they're basically like having a back and forth, and he's acting kind of like possessed because at first she's like staying really silent, and he's like, "Where are you? Come out. I'm gonna have you, whatever." And um finally Lola is just like, "Dave, what the fuck's going on?" And he's kind of like doing that whole like, "I'm not Dave anymore. Dave is gone." And so like he's pretending to be, I guess, like possessed by the spirit of the toy maker, maybe. I'm not really sure. But basically we find out that I think what's happening is that Dave is actually a chaser and has been like stalking Lola this entire time, and he was the one that was like emailing the podcast being like, "How did you get into true crime?" and like all of this stuff. And he was also the one that killed the back or tried to kill the backpacker because like I guess he had made advances on her and she said no or something. This is all through like Lola talking to her, because essentially she says that like when she went to the historical society, he had his porn like on a flash drive inside a historical vase or something, and she happened to find it and stole it, and then saw that the porn was like chaser stuff.
Yeah.
I guess, and I was like, bro,
It was just that he
why
was
would you
like
leave your
secretly into like trans women porn, and then like all this other shit that when he like then tried to bring it into like the real world or whatever, it got turned down at like he just
he could
snaps or
not
whatever.
stand it. Yeah. Which again, chill out a little bit, sir. Um And so yeah, like essentially I think like what they're trying to say is that he had been in love with her for like however long, and it was she obviously was like unattainable, so he tried to like resurrect, like sent the thing that like started the conversation about the toy maker again, and then kind of like resurrected this like case kind of like probably for her and like for the podcast and stuff, but she's like, no thank you, actually. Like, no, I don't really want to date a murderer, but that's great. Because he essentially only targeted people that were like in the friend group there, right?
Yeah.
So, they basically are like, you know, he like jumps on her, is basically like about to cut her throat, and he's like, I hate you. And she's like, no, you love me. And he's like cutting into her neck. And this is when Lola's old teacher runs up and just smacks Dave in the face with these like huge like cone boobs. Like, like old Madonna style cone
Yeah,
boobs.
right.
They're so
It
big.
rules.
They're like they're like a glittery in red, and I'm gonna tell you, I did not expect it. I thought it was so funny, but like in a good way. Like it did not seem absurd to me at all, even though like when you're talking about it, the idea of it kind of is, because he just like ran up and smacked him right the fuck onto the floor with these big boobs. I loved it. Um, one of the other friends shows up, and they basically like team up on Dave and are like kicking him and pushing him or whatever. Eventually, Lola tases him, and he poops his pants.
With the loudest like fart noise.
I was gonna say he like explosive diarrheas his pants, and the teacher is like, "Are you gonna pay to clean my club? Because, bro." Um, Basically this is when we so that like the sergeant and the cops show up and are basically just like, we're gonna arrest you for assaulting this boy. And Lola's like, absolutely not. We find out that Dave is actually the sergeant's nephew, and I guess just like the pressure of being a part of this like high profile family, and like being kind of like ostracized maybe for his like preferences, and then again like you were saying, the rejection of the backpacker just like really pushed him over the edge, and he decided that he was going to murder people. Okay, maybe just like take a chill pill. But that's basically what happened, and obviously the sergeant was trying to cover it up because it's his nephew. Um Lola is basically just like, by the way, I told all of this information to a journalist, which is her best friend back home. And this is when we also uncover that like piece of shit dude who worked at the gas station was the one that like beat that the the old guy to death. Um and so she's like, yeah, so you should probably like start making some arrests because everyone's gonna know that you've basically just been covering this shit up. So basically, it like kind of switches back to being a wrap up, as if Lola was like telling the whole story about what happened on the podcast, and basically like updating Riley, who was the podcast co-host, about the aftermath of everything that happened. The one dude is in jail. Dave is in jail, and basically, oh, not jail. He's in like some kind of facility, like trying to get rehabilitated, I guess. But the town has been ruined essentially because basically what was happening behind the scenes is that like the rich cops and mayor's family was trying to like buy up all of this land marks and stuff because they wanted to renovate it and turn it into like a resort town. And so they were basically just like, monopolizing on everybody and ruining the town. Lola basically like survived the situation but has like night terrors now about the Santa Claus guy going to kill her. And so she co-wrote a book with her friend about the Toymaker murders and all of that stuff that happens. So at the end of the movie, they're basically at a book signing for her. It's the boyfriend Charlie, Lola, and the friend who wrote the book. And as they're leaving, there's basically a girl that comes up and she's like, "Oh my God, are you Lola, like the real Lola?" And Lola's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Okay, well, three of my friends have gone missing, and I think I'm being like followed. Can you help me?" And Lola's just like, "Yeah, no worries. Let's figure this out." And like they just like kind of like take her under their wing. And that's the
I
end.
would watch like a season of a show of just like Lola doing Murder She Wrote.
Right. Yeah, me too. I meant to say this too, and this was something that I brought up in T Blockers too. I don't know if these are just like the clothes, like the main character Lola specifically, like I loved all of her outfits, and I don't know if it's just like the wardrobe of what they normally wear or if it's like a department or whatever, but I thought that everything that she was wearing was so cute, and I thought the same of the lead in T Blockers also. They had really similar
Yeah, I bet
styles.
it's like a
Um,
combination of like either just stuff they own that like
yeah, definitely like a specific
yeah, that
aesthetic.
like the director's like, "Oh yeah, wear that," or like I'm sure there's shit like in T Blockers when they have to have all like the masks and stuff that's like an actual like costume department.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you should if you have Shutter specifically, go just go watch all of Alice's movies. They're all really good. And if go buy the Blu-rays if you have the money for it. I am very excited
Yeah.
for her next movie to come out because I saw like some pretty great reactions to it at like whatever festivals it premiered at.
I don't know what it is about, but the title rocks, so
Yeah, I've
definitely.
tried to like avoid whatever the plot is because I just kind of want to just watch it. So hopefully that's like
Yeah.
kind of soon. Hopefully it'll be like hitting at least like rentable online, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
All right. What have you watched since the last time we recorded?
Ugh, 10 years ago. Actually, it was like a couple
Since
days
you
ago.
bursted in on
Um,
fucking Deathstalker, I think was the last, technically the last time.
oh yeah, because we did a what's it called? I don't even remember what I talked about on there. I mostly just watched Christmas stuff to be honest with you, because my parents were here for a week. And we watched Deck the Halls, which is that Danny DeVito, Matthew Broderick movie. He's so creepy. We watched some other like Ghost of Christmas Past type modern thing. Then I watched this movie called, let's see, I think it was called Becoming Santa. Let me see. Because basically after I watched the two movies that we did for um the bonus episode, the movies just kind of like auto played. So I watched, and I've seen this before. It's like the 12 Days of Christmas or whatever, and it's got Molly Shannon in it, and it's again like a Ghost of Christmas Past thing. And I forget who the dude is, but I think it's like he's recognizable. Anyways, so the movies just were playing. So then I watched this one called, yeah, Becoming Santa, and the plot of it was basically this girl who's like dating this guy, and the guy loves Christmas, and he decides that he's going to propose to her, and she's like, "Well, you need my parents' blessing." And it turns out that her parents are like Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus secretly, and so they go to the North Pole, and she's like trying not to like tell him stuff, but like obviously he's gonna figure it out. Anyways, the reason that I watched it is because Tony Cavallero is in it, who plays Keith in Righteous Gemstones, and he plays Jack Frost. And I was like, is there anything more made for me? And it was so funny. So I watched that one. Then I watched this movie. And then I finally watched It's a Wonderful Knife from 2023, which I do not think that you would like, but
No,
I very much
absolutely not.
enjoyed it. I really liked it. It's you don't want to watch it. It's got Justin Long in it.
No, pass. The only time I want to watch Justin Long is when
Uh,
he's being turned into a walrus.
that's fair. Weirdly, Joe McHale was also in it. I really liked it. It was like a weird, like, there's like a serial killer, and this girl basically stops the serial killer, but then has like PTSD from it, and basically after a year is like destitute and is like, I wish I didn't exist. I wish my life is over. And then she wakes up in a world where she didn't exist, so the serial killer just like continued to kill. Um, and so yeah, I really liked it. And then I watched another, let's see, I didn't even rate this one. I think it was called There's Something in the Barn, which is also on Shudder, that stars Martin Starr. And it was basically this family that inherits a Norwegian like farm from the guy's family, and then they move there, and then there's like a barn elf and stuff happens. It's a horror movie. It was fine. Like, I don't know if I would actively, not like, it was kind of fun. It was fine. I would sort of recommend it if you're wanting to watch specifically something Christmassy. It was fine.
Was that it?
Um, I think so.
All right. I think most of what I've watched has been rewatches where I've been going through with Gorley and Rust. So I watched all the Alien movies through Covenant. I watched The Thing and The Shining with like their commentary. I
Wow.
watched a movie called Touch from 1997 that like one of the Vinegar Syndrome sublabels put out that is like Skeet Ulrich is playing a character that supposedly can like heal people with his touch, and Christopher Walken is trying to like take advantage of. I don't know. It was fine. It was not like the best thing I've ever seen, but it had like a kind of insane cast like Skeet Ulrich,
Yeah.
fucking Bridget Fonda, Christopher Walken, Janine Garofalo, fucking Tom Arnold being insane in it. Um,
Well,
he plays like a like wildly like religious person who wants the church to get back to like being the church or some shit, and he's crazy in it. I watched 1988's Through the Fire, which was also kind of okay. It was like this weird regional movie, like horror movie about like Satanists that are trying to bring about the end of the world, and then like this kind of bumbling cop that's trying to stop it. Um, I watched or rewatched Creepshow 2, The People Under the Stairs, Terror Train, Body Double, Gremlins, They Live, and The Brood for with Gorley and Rust. I watched Demi Adejuyigbe is going to do one backflip, which is a stand-up special from Demi Adejuyigbe that is very funny. That had the thing about Spider-Man 3 I sent you.
oh yeah. I love
Um,
that.
and then I rewatched Sleepaway Camp, Poltergeist, Motel Hell, An American Werewolf in London, Scanners, and Amityville Horror for the with Gorley
I
and Russ
s-
stuff.
I s- yeah, I saw that you logged Amityville Horror, and I was like, what is going
Yeah,
on
they
here?
did like a commentary watch along thing for it. And then I rewatched They Call Me Macho Woman, which is a movie that like Trauma put out in like the 90s that Vinegar Syndrome like upgraded to Blu-ray that is pretty good. It's like kind of slow at the beginning, but like the second half is incredible where she just like is just killing the shit out of dudes in the backwoods with like long ass fucking spikes and an axe and like like this weird spike boot thing she makes, and I would recommend
Great.
it. And then other than that, like I kind of am slowly working my way through that like horror's greatest TV show thing on Shudder, and it's like nothing I haven't seen in other sort of like documentaries or like things people talking about or like ranking horror movie stuff, but it's been, it's like a good like sort of brain off watch kind of thing.
Yeah.
I like the J horror episode is pretty good. There's like the first episode I think was about like tropes and it was fine, and then the second episode was about like Godzilla and kaiju monsters and shit. That was pretty fun, but that's mostly about as far as I've gotten as those three.
Noise.
All right, what do you want to shout out?
Oh no. Um, let's see. I'm sure I read something that was good. Oh man, I read the highs and lows of reading.
Probably
Um,
shouldn't do it.
let's I know. I read I'll okay. Actually just shout out something that I'm currently reading, and it is because I was trying to read some like winter horror, not necessarily Christmas, because again, a lot of those are not great. But I started reading this book that I've seen on a bunch of lists as being like, this is the scariest book I've ever read, which normally is a shit show for me. But this one, I decided to finally, I was like, I'll just give it a try. And it's called Stolen Tongues by Felix Blackwell. And I'm like 47% to it right now. And I have to say, I, as you know, I read a lot of horror. I read a lot of extreme horror. I am not really ever super affected by like what I watch or what I read. I'm gonna say that so far, this book is pretty creepy. Like, I've been more creeped out by this book, like the first half of this book, than I can't even remember since I was like maybe like a teenager reading stuff that I wasn't supposed to be reading or whatever. It's like genuinely creepy. And it's essentially like this guy and his fiance go to stay at a cabin in the mountains, and it's winter, so it's like snowy and stuff, and there's a bunch of I don't know, stuff that happens around, also her having the fiance having like night terrors and sleepwalking kind of stuff, and it's like pretty genuinely creepy. So I'm really really hoping that the book wraps up well, because like the ending, I feel, obviously it's hit or miss if it's going to be good, but so far I'm really really enjoying it. So that's my shout out.
I'm gonna shout out Blacksmith Noise Records, which is a noise like net label thing that these two noise artists from New Jersey that I like started. And so far everything they've released has been really good. Um including their project that kicked off the label called Blacksmith with their first album, Dude Blacksmith Hammering an Anvil. And then two nude blacksmiths hammering an anvil as their second release.
Oh,
And it's got the
interesting.
weird old fucking like 1930s something pictures of these two old nude blacksmiths hammering an anvil.
Oh,
So,
that seems dangerous.
well, everything was dangerous
That
then.
seems real dangerous. I mean, that's fair, but
All right. We will be back in the new year with something. Honestly, probably Deathstalker first. I want to do like a actual episode on Deathstalker when all three of us record next.
yeah.
And then probably the Hell Comes to Frogtown movies that we keep threatening everybody with. And then 28
Yeah.
episodes on the Vivica A. Fox, the wrong franchise.
Yep. That'll take us through to 2027.
Yep, then we'll have just in time to go on break for the holidays again.
That's right.
All right, if you'd like to support us, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/IP7podcast. I think the week after this comes out, our Chris Kattanmus episode will be out on Christmas in Wonderland and Holiday Heist. Two bad Christmas movies featuring Chris Kattan and Preston Lacey somehow.
Yeah, like coincidentally.
I
Not great though.
don't know how that happened, but especially because it wasn't even like shot back to back sort of thing or same directors, whatever. It was
No,
like 5 or 6 years apart and different.
I was
Like,
gonna say, yep.
what a weird thing. um,
Yeah.
you can leave us a rating and review wherever you're listening to this, probably. You can buy some merch at our Redbubble shop, including get everybody a Amityville skateboarding house t-shirt for Christmas. That's what they're all clamoring for. It's a good stocking stuffer.
Yeah, it is. It is a great gift for Christmas.
You can follow us on Instagram at I Hope You Suffer Podcast. You can follow Kit at Hidden Kitstery and Kitcherification of Blood. You can follow Katie at WerewolfFace. Join Katie's Patreon at patreon.com/werewolfface. You can listen to my other podcast, Name K Movie Club. All right. I don't know. Have a good holiday. Go watch Ernest Saves Christmas. It's the only good Christmas movie.
See you next year.
Yeah. You I hope you get your ribs pulled out of your back. And whatever that thing was
Oh.
called in this movie. But why?
Uh, Bloody Eagle Snow
Yeah,
Angel.
I hope you get Bloody Eagle Snow Angeled. But why?
Hell yeah.